the Kitchen.
Welcome to So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. I'm Dilla Barman, and I'm one of the cooks in the kitchen.
My name is Cody Stubbe. I'm also a cook in the kitchen. Each of us is also a Food for Life instructor. There are around 300 Food for Life instructors around the world who teach evidence-based food and nutrition classes.
I'm Susanna Dickman, another cook in the kitchen. There are about 30 of us who call ourselves So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. Since May of 2020, we have had free monthly kitchen-to-kitchen shows, including a free nutrition and recipes document each time. Check us out.
I'm Karen Osborne, and I'm a cook in the kitchen too. We take questions during our live shows, and you can watch the shows recorded after the fact as well.
Hi, I'm Mark Sergvanik. We'd like to share some snippets from our first 4 shows where we went around the power plate of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. We hope you enjoy this.
The crust is just oats and dates and a little bit of water in the food processor. And if you're going to eat the pie on the same day, you don't have to bake it. But if you are going to keep the pie for a few days, sometimes the moisture in the filling makes the crust a little bit gummy. So I've baked it for 10 minutes, and that is enough. It might not look like anything, but that's enough to dry it out, harden it a little bit. If you do it 15 minutes, that's too much. It will get hard. And then the other thing I did was in advance, I made the chocolate frosting for the top. I started with some aquafaba, which is the thick liquid left over from cooking the legumes in water. I used garbanzo beans, and then I blended it in the blender until it was foamy. So all I did was mix the aquafaba till it was foamy. I added dates, cacao powder, and a little vanilla, blended it till it's smooth, and that's my frosting. So what I'm going to show you now is the filling. How easy is this? I have sliced 3 bananas and put them in a mixing bowl. I'm just going to put that aside. And then I put 1 banana in my blender. It's going to help make a nice creamy filling. And then I have 4 dates. That's all it took. And I know you've heard all about the nutrition of all of these foods. Lots of fiber there, lots of fiber in bananas. Banana is a good source of potassium and vitamin B6. What else am I going to put in here? Something else to make it nice and creamy and also to help sweeten it is a half a cup of mashed, cooked and peeled Japanese sweet potatoes. So you're adding creaminess, thickness without adding any dairy or oil. Vanilla extract for flavoring. And I'm just putting in a little bit of salt. If you're not using salt, that's optional. And the last thing I did in advance, I had a cup of water and I added 3/4 of a teaspoon of agar powder. But what I did is dissolve the powder into the water, the room temperature water, and then it needs to boil to do its thing. So it melts at 185 degrees. So what I did is put it over the heat and stirred it for a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to add it to the blender. So that's going to help it blend. So I'm going to blend this until it's smooth. Then I'm going to just pour it into the bananas. Now, you don't have to use this crust. This one is oil-free. If you have a crust that you like, that you can purchase, you can put it in that crust. So then when it's chilled, I'm going to top it with the chocolate frosting. So anyway, here you have a nice decadent celebration food that is health supportive.
today I'm going to be making a recipe I just made up last week. I was really pleased with it. I made it up a couple days ago, and this is my warm quinoa bowl. So I have some water, and you can put everything in at once. I just turned the heat on. So I have 2 cups of water. I'm going to add a cup of quinoa, which goes in. And then I'm going to add a cup of carrot, cut into about 1/2-inch pieces. I'm going to add also a cup of vegetables. Broccoli is a great choice. This happens to be frozen. It doesn't matter if it's frozen or fresh. There goes the broccoli. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of onion, and change these to your own taste. If you're a real onion person, add a little bit more, and that's cut to 1/2 inch. And I also have some apricots, 5 to 6 apricots. I quartered them, so they go in too. Here's my second bowl. I was looking for another bowl. They were stacked. And finally, I'm going to use some kale. And what I like to do with kale is I like to hand tear it. So you don't need a knife or anything, just hand tear it. You don't want the stem, cut it away from the stem. And I'm going to compress it into my measuring cup. I need about a 1/2 cup or a 1/4 cup of kale, let's say 1/2 cup. So I'm going to take maybe 2, 3, 4 leaves. So here's 2 leaves, easy peasy. And to measure kale, you compress it. And I've used 2 large leaves and already it's 1/2 cup, so I'm going to call that success. Put that in. If you want, you can do a quick stir. And I'm going to cover it. Actually, I'll let it go for about 3 minutes, and then I'll cover it. And then when I'm done, I want to put just a shake, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of umi plum vinegar. You can use any kind of vinegar you want, and that's it. So cook for about 3 minutes, cover it, and you are done.
So we are starting with either 1 large globe eggplant or some of these Japanese eggplant, which I prefer in this. So what I've done already is cut up some Japanese eggplant into slices, into quarters, and then marinated it. So I have a marinade that is made out of rice wine vinegar and a little water and some low sodium tamari, which is gluten-free soy sauce. You could also use soy sauce. You could also use liquid aminos, coconut aminos, or regular amino acids, and that gives it a less sodium. So, and then a little bit of agave nectar, a few cloves of garlic minced, and then you're just gonna let the eggplant soak in that marinade for a good 1/2 hour to an hour. If you don't have time to deal with it right away, you can set it aside. It could probably sit in there for hours. That'd be fine. So then after it's marinated, you're going to take that eggplant and it comes out beautiful on the grill. This was grilled on our outdoor grill, and I hope that you can see these beautiful grill marks on here. It is so good, and it's nice and firm. So for those of you who I just know you're out there who say eggplant is gross and mushy, this is firm. This is really delicious. And then you're going to take those pieces of eggplant, chop them up, and put them in your salad. So just cut them into little bite-sized pieces, and they're nice little chunks, so they're still firm. And then I've already cooked the soba noodles. So you want to use soba noodles because they are really, really good for you. They have a flavonoid called rutin in them that is pretty hard to find anywhere else. So actual soba noodles are made of buckwheat. You could also find noodles that are called soba noodles, but they might have a mixture of flours in them. But I try to go for the 100% buckwheat noodles. You don't have to use soba noodles. You could also use possibly pad thai noodles if you want to, but this is sort of a dish with an Asian flair. So pick either a rice noodle or a soba noodle. While they were cooking, they cook for about 7 or 8 minutes. And then while they're cooking, at the end, when they only have 1 minute left, I added in a whole bunch of bok choy or pak choy. So in the South, we actually grow something right now. It's in season called pak choy. It's much smaller than bok choy, so you probably need more of them to be able to, get a bunch of it in your salad. So I have added the buckwheat noodles, the soba noodles, and you can see that there's cooked pieces of bok choy or pak choy in it. And then you just add that eggplant on top. And then with your marinade, the leftover marinade, here's the cool thing about cooking plant-based. So when you marinate things, you don't have to get rid of the marinade. You can keep it and use it again as a sauce. And so all we do is just add a little bit of water because the marinade is kind of tangy and spicy. And you want to maybe cut down a little bit on how very strongly flavored it is. So just add a little bit of water to your leftover marinade and then use it as a dressing poured over your beautiful soba noodle salad.
We need about 2 cups, or it'd be about 1 can of chickpeas. And you can drain these and rinse them off. Now, save your aquafaba. I know everybody has mentioned the aquafaba, save it, because you can use it for other things like they've talked about before. So I have mine here just in case I need to put a little bit in it. All right, so we're gonna put that in your food processor. Okay, and then 4 cloves of garlic, and then you can chop them up. I just minced mine. If you don't have garlic on hand, you can certainly just use probably about 2 teaspoons of powdered garlic, which works nice too. All right, so I'm just gonna dump that in there. All right, next we're gonna put in a zest of 1 lemon. And I love zesting, it's just such a fun little thing to do. All right, you're also gonna use the lemon juice from that lemon. So it's gonna give it some nice flavor. And if you don't have fresh lemon, you can certainly use concentrated. Just kind of depends on what's available, what the grocery store will deliver for you, what's on hand. But usually I don't have problems finding fresh lemons. And lemon is also great in this recipe because I mentioned there's iron in legumes. And so with that, the vitamin C in the lemon, for any citrus, that will help with the absorption of the iron into your body as needed. So it's incredible to do vitamin C and iron together. So keep that in mind for future reference. All right, so what else? We need 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds, and you can toast those if you like to do that. If you have the time, it usually just takes a minute, and you just toast them on a dry frying pan until you kind of smell them. It's just maybe a minute, and then you want to take them right off, and you can put them in just like a little grinder, like a coffee grinder, and then just scoop out however much you need for that recipe. And if you don't have that, I just have cumin powder on hand as well, so you just sprinkle that in there. All right. And then you can put a little salt. Now, if you're watching your salt intake, so if you do have high blood pressure, you're probably watching your salt intake. So you can eliminate that salt, but if you're not worried about that, then go ahead and put a little bit of salt. And I use iodized salt just for your thyroid health. Okay, so we're gonna put that on in there. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it on. Just a little bit of this. If you don't plan on using your aquafaba right away, you might want to freeze it, and then it thaws out really good to use. You can also freeze your beans, which is pretty awesome. Oh, it smells delicious. All right, so again, this is very healthy. It doesn't have the extra oil, which you don't need, because even olive oil has saturated fat in it. It has maybe about 14% saturated fat, but that can contribute to cardiovascular disease because of the cholesterol formation, so of the clogged arteries. So anyway, we want to avoid the extra fat in our diets. All right, so here it is. I'm just gonna have a snack. I'm gonna take this up to my kids in a little bit here, and we're just gonna chow down on this.
So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.